Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Steve with Real Progressives, and it's getting a little bit too cold to do the backyard candlelight routine. Before long, I'm going to be in a friggin' bundle of clothing trying to trying to pull this one off. But I wanted to follow up on some discussions I was having with you all earlier tonight regarding, following leaders and heroes and being true to the movement and being honest and having integrity and staying within the realm of truth. So, Real Progressives has, like I've said several times, we have about 30 people on this team. We have some people that are what I call talent, or people that actually just broadcast for us. And we have the core team members that work on the back end and do all the support work and keep us all up and running. And what I thought was important was, earlier today, got a lot of really good feedback from that stream. It was terrible. I'm so sorry about the horrible connection. I kept trying to move around, kept trying to find some ways to make it so it wasn't constantly hopping around and skipping around. That's just the way it goes with live streaming. It's an imperfect science. But what isn't imperfect is the ease in which it is to tell the truth. And truth was very important to me today. It's been important to me round the clock because, we're starving for leaders. We're starving for people that actually mean what they say and say what they mean. And so we are bouncing from here and there and the other, when in reality, much of this comes from within. This is a personal journey for each one of us. That's the thing about progressives, I think. More than being pack animals, I think we have a core component to our being that drives us towards truth. We have an insatiable need for truth. And it's not satisfied by milquetoast. It's not satisfied by, flim flam and glamour. I know for me, I can't stand bubble letters. I can't stand bling. I can't stand anything that in any way, shape, or form feels slightly cheesy at all. The music I listen to has like a zero cheese effect, except for Daughtry. I listen to Daughtry, I admit it. But the reality is that this movement is starving for people to provide truth. And, Real Progressives has built its name on providing truth and trying to remain in that zone. And, the leadership component that, I hear a lot of people talking about how they want co-ops. They want to see a more flat, egalitarian approach to everything, which would be great if, in fact, people actually did what they needed to do. And if, in fact, we were actually working together in a cohesive manner, if we were working as a team. But too many people are going off into different directions, so it's hard to tell, who do you follow? Do you follow? Do you lead? And I think one of the things that I want to talk to you all about is what I think of when I think of leadership, when I think of people that I'm willing to follow, because I do a lot of talking about the things I don't like. And I think maybe it's time to talk about some of the characteristics that I do like. So when I look at a leader, I know a lot of people have a lot of negative things to say about religion and stuff like that. And, I understand religion has given itself its own black eye. There's a lot of bigotry, a lot of judgment, a lot of pain that has come in the name of religion over the years. But just like anything, it's important to take the good with the bad and kind of separate them off so you don't miss important lessons. Why do I feel like my feed is breaking up yet again? In any event, I think it's really important that you consider some of the lessons from some of the religions of the world that we've seen in terms of what makes a good leader. And I think humility is a very, very important thing. Putting the team or the movement ahead of oneself is probably the most important aspect of leadership. not really caring about whether or not you get the promotion or whether or not you care about getting the accolades. It really comes down to putting the movement first and foremost. Now, I think that there are a few people out there that embody that. I think most of them, unfortunately, are not running for office. I think most of them are afraid to run for office for fear of the fact that they may have screwed up on their taxes somewhere. Or maybe they didn't do something right with child support, or maybe they had a court issue, maybe they were busted for drinking and driving, or who knows what. Whatever life experience they had, it tears people down. And you've seen, Hillary Clinton's campaign was ready to start tweeting out pictures of Bernie laying poolside at the DSCC as some sort of gotcha politics. So, what makes leaders stay hidden? I don't know, maybe they're protecting something more precious like their family. Maybe they're really thinking to themselves, hey, I'd love to lead these people, but what the hell am I going to do with this? What's going to happen if I fail? What's going to happen to my family? What's going to happen to my career? What's going to happen to my name? How do I get out of this hellhole if they drag me through the mud? And, it's real easy to, say you want to be a leader. It's another thing to live a leader's lifestyle. And being a leader, in my opinion, requires sacrifice. It requires being able to tell the truth so that your people can have respect and honor and take extra steps that they wouldn't otherwise be willing to take because they actually believe in your message. So, we talk a lot about Christianity and how we don't like Christians and we don't like the God of the Bible, and we have 1,000,001 ways of denigrating Christianity. But there's some really, really good messages in there, even if you're agnostic or atheist or anything else. And I go back to Jesus in the temple. And this is not a religious thing, guys, so just trust me when I say that. This is really just sort of trying to marry a whole bunch of people together to make them realize there's stuff you can learn from everywhere. But when Jesus was in the temple and he was watching the money changers, the banksters of the day, doing business in the temple, he kind of got the mad idea that wasn't what the temple was supposed to be about. That wasn't what it was supposed to be about. And so he started flipping tables and started losing his mind, yelling at the Pharisees, you whited sepulchres, and who warned you? And, he was just flipping out. And that was like that righteous anger that you want to see in a leader when they see real injustice going on. And I look around and I flash forward to our current situation at the Dakota Pipeline. And I think, what leaders are flipping tables about the Dakota Pipeline? What leaders are flipping tables about people being shot with rubber bullets and tear gas, etc.? What people are actually fighting for clean water? And you look at Hillary and she's silent. Crickets. Freaking crickets, man. That's not leadership. And for all the Southern folks that thought they were supporting Hillary because she was a good old Christian gal, well, she sure isn't flipping tables, is she? She sure isn't flipping tables in the sight of injustice. So when I think about leadership, I'm looking for somebody to lead me that has core values and core principles, and I'm going to follow them based on those core principles. But the minute they deviate from those core principles, I'm Audi 5 mil, I'm gone, I'm Cia Stella, I'm 8-track, I'm yesterday's newspaper, I'm done. Because the fact is that if you don't hold to your principles, then you can't be followed with any kind of confidence. Those principles are absolutely paramount to a leader. And so during this entire election cycle, I've seen 2 people serve as leaders. And I've seen several others who I thought could be leaders. And I'll start with Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard came out And she really lowered the boom on Hillary regarding foreign policy. She lowered the boom on her. She stepped down from her vaunted role in the Democratic Party so that she could fight for Bernie Sanders. She went ahead and said, hey, I would rather take all the crap I'm going to get and fight for Bernie than I would to stay in this position and be untrue to myself. That's a sign of a leader. Now, I'm sure she was kind of strong-armed there toward the end because she's still a Democrat fighting from the inside. But during that time period, I had an incredible amount of respect for her. What she stood up and did was heroic, in my opinion. The other one, obviously, was Bernie Sanders during that time period. He took on the world. He took on everyone. And he told us things that we were afraid to say out loud. He brought the word socialism out of the friggin' trash can. He reclaimed that word. He reclaimed the idea that people could stand up and fight for their government. He gave me the power and just the strength to do this stuff. And all along there was Jill Stein, who had nothing backing her at all. Let's be fair, the Green Party, it has a lot of work to do, doesn't it? The Green Party is not a terribly good structure for a candidate to run in. But there was Jill Stein fighting tooth and nail, going out to the Dakota Pipeline, standing up, speaking truth to power, going to Hofstra and fighting where they blocked her and her people. All those people that went and got arrested, speaking out in the name of the First Amendment, in the name of us being able to hear candidates. That to me is a leader I can follow as well. And then you had some other people, some people like Dr. Cornel West, who, in spite of the fact that he supported Bernie through the primaries, he said, you know what? I love Brother Bernie. There's no way in hell I'm following him over to Hillary Clinton. And he immediately started supporting Jill Stein. That's a leader, my friends. He fought the good fight, and when he realized the leader was not going to do what he thought that leader should do, he immediately stayed with his core convictions and went and supported Jill Stein. Consider Cornel West's devoted support for Bernie. Consider Cornel West's devoted support for this movement. Consider his nonstop, steadfast strength during the platform hearings, when it came to Israel, when it came to single payer, when it came to education. Cornel West was a rock. He did not budge. He did not waver. He set the standard. He made it so that they had to actually defy him to take the stances that they took. He didn't deviate. That's a leader I can follow. Now, I don't presume to be a leader, but I will tell you this. In my heart of hearts, I try to emulate that in the things that I do. I don't presume to be a leader, but in order to be something more than yourself, you've got to emulate those who you believe are leading you to that place. And in my mind, I am trying to follow in the pathway of others who have shown the way, who have shown how to be a leader, a servant leader with conviction and strength and compassion for your fellow man. I find it to be the cornerstone of being a progressive. A real progressive is someone who places peace before profits, who places humanity before profits, who places the environment before profits, who places the least of these before profits. And let's swing on back full circle to our buddy JC, who was hanging out in the temple. One of the things that he said in the Bible, whether you like the Bible or not, let's get it clear. I don't need any lectures on how the Bible's bad. I'm just using this as a way of explaining something to you. He told them, woe be to those who do anything bad to the least of these. Okay? I mean, that's paraphrasing it. But the bottom line is he stood up for the weak. He stood up for the needy. He didn't sit there and kick them in the ass and say, well, if you had made better choices. I mean, in the Bible, again, you don't have to like it. I'm just telling you the stories from it, okay? Mary Magdalene was laying at his feet, and they were ready to stone her because she had been a little loose with her hips, huh? Making a little coin the old-fashioned way, the original profession. And he drew a little thing in the sand, and they're like, well, what do you do? And he said, he without sin cast the first stone. And they all kind of walked away. And she thanked him and thanked him and thanked him. And he's like, hey, get your shit together, man. Get it together. It's all good. I got this. So when I think of what it means to be a progressive, a real progressive, and when I think about the Christian right, and when I think about leadership, I think to myself, are we really that far apart? Are we really that far apart? Isn't there ways to bridge the divide? Aren't there ways to make us in that 90% agree category? Isn't there ways to lead people away from the demonic nature of the GOP and the Democratic Party? Aren't there ways to bring us together that we can fight for a better USA, for a better world? I believe there is. Folks, I really do. If you find ways of bridging the divide and getting past your own hatred, there are ways that we can do this. That's why when I talk about economics, I'm looking at the GOP and I'm saying, why in the world would they stand in the way of single payer? Why would they stand in the way of their kids having free college? And I go through and I ask myself the tough questions. I don't just go, oh, I hate the GOP. I think to myself, how can we win enough of them over so we can get major things done in this country? And you have to say to yourself, if they love their children, which they do, then we can talk to them as human beings and we can try and walk with them. Now, I'm going to give a shout out to somebody who I have great affection for, and that's Kim Lowe from Virginia. Kim Lowe contacts me almost every single day as she travels around the state, campaigning in Republican areas and areas where they truly have some difficulties in assimilating with a more diverse population, shall we say? And she is talking to them at their level. She is presenting modern monetary theory to people in tough sections of Virginia. I've never been more proud of somebody in my entire life than I am of Kim and how she does this. She goes into the den, she goes wherever they are, and she talks to them as human beings. And she's about as progressive as you're going to get. And she's in there winning hearts and minds of right-wing people in the country. Now, she may not win. I hope she does. But she may not win. But she's done more than most of us will ever do in our lifetime in terms of reaching across the aisle and being a humble servant leader. Kim Lowe, you're my kind of gal. You really are a rock star in this movement. And I have the utmost respect for what you're doing. And, we get into these discussions. And this is one of the toughest things for me because I am trying to bridge divides. I am trying to cross over places where they don't even want to hear the word progressive. And what I'm seeing is that there are many people who get caught in this idea of reformist or revolutionary. And they try and box you in one direction or the other. And I say, why can't you do both? Why can't you work the angles you can work to fix the system as best you can, while overall fighting for a revolution, a political revolution, as we've been talking about, one that Jill Stein continues to carry on. But after November 8th, we still need leaders, and we need them more than ever then. We need to be able to talk to the Republicans and those people who have been completely and utterly disaffected by this wretched election. And we need to find a way to build true, honest-to-God coalitions with the far left and the center right. And we need to find a way to build a movement without Bernie Sanders at the top of it, without Jill Stein at the top of it, without some charismatic leader at the top of it. We need to find a way to build a movement that steamrolls into 2018 and really picks up speed in 2020. It is so important that you guys get this, that you guys realize that our mission is not to preach to the choir. Our mission is to grow this movement. And we can grow it internally because there's a lot of progressives and independents that have fallen back to sleep and disillusionment. But there's a lot of people that have had epiphanies, that are on the verge of converting, that maybe didn't have enough time to get the nudge, maybe didn't see enough. But these WikiLeaks, these people are going to probably vote for Hillary. They're going to probably vote for Trump. Our time is now to talk to them with a level head, to care about where they're at and help them past their roadblocks, and not allow people to herd us into choosing either revolutionary or reformist, but to do both, because we need both. We need to live today and we need to fight for a better tomorrow. So as you think of leadership and you think of what it takes to be a leader, remember, it comes down to humility. It really does. It's not the blowhards that are running around crazy. That may attract some immature people, but the people that really deserve to be followed, and it's not even deserved, the people that should be followed are the humble ones. Now, I had a short talk with Tim Black earlier tonight. It was actually a long talk, but I did have a talk with Tim. And I'm going to say something without his permission. Tim Black is an activist. He likes to say he's a host. He likes to say, hey, I'm just a host. But let me tell you something. Tim Black inspires me. Tim Black inspired a whole lot of people in Washington, D.C. And Tim Black is a very humble man. Tim Black is a very, very humble man. And I believe that man has done more for this movement, bringing people together, keeping people's spirits up, than he'll ever have any idea. He'll never, ever know the true impact of what he's done. To me, Tim Black is a leader. To me, Tim Black is a hero of this movement, in a movement that doesn't need more heroes. Claudia, Claudia has taken many of your spirits and lifted them to the roof when you didn't have anything to lift up. She's come out there and smiled and she goes, hello, this is Claudia. And same with so many others. I mean, I saw Jeff Day for the first time live in D.C. And when Jeff Day spoke, Jeff Day talked in a way that the only quibble I had with Jeff Day at all was that he broke into that Midwestern view of working hard. And we know hard work isn't the cure-all. Trust me, if it is, my 2 master's degrees would have me friggin' king of the hill, right? So that's my only quibble. But he had a tremendously positive message. He had a message of unity, one that I truly support. And, he's asking everybody to take off November 8th. I think that's a really great idea. I'm going to try to do it. I've already got 4 meetings on the books that day for my job, my real job, the day job, the one that actually pays the bills. And so I don't know if I'll be able to move them off. I didn't pick them. People above me picked them. So I'll try. But my point is, Jeff Day is a humble leader, you know? And when you see people that are willing to put their heart and soul out to try and be more than they are through humility, you know? Jackie Luqman, I don't know how many of you all know Jackie, but Jackie has got a heart for the people, and she's got a mind for history, and she puts it out on the line. And you know, I had the blessing of meeting Gary Fraser Jr. Gary Fraser Jr. from Camden, New Jersey, running for city council. This is a guy who's got nothing, man. He doesn't have a lot of backing. He doesn't have a lot of support. He doesn't have a lot of funds, but he is all heart. He's all heart. And it's all in the right place. These are people that you can get behind and you can follow. And you don't have to worry about them getting you in trouble. They're not going to take you down the wrong path, you know? And, you know, I've met so many people. This is one of the blessings of this. And I've seen people that are really, really in it for the movement. And I've seen others who are really in it for themselves. And for me, to be able to see people who place the movement far above any kind of congratulatory thing, that don't sit there and act as a gatekeeper for the movement. Do you know what I mean by a gatekeeper for the movement? A gatekeeper, let me tell you what a gatekeeper is. A gatekeeper is someone who has access to influence. A gatekeeper is someone who has access to the powers of whatever. And they don't want to introduce you. They want to be the go-between. They want to kind of block you from being able to be a part of that. So you have to go through them. That's a gatekeeper. That's not a leader. It's not a leader. And for those of you who know gatekeepers of the world, know them for their fruits, right? Know them for their fruits. I like to think of people that are real leaders. They're fearless. They're not holding on to dear life for their position in this world. They recognize the only way to keep it is to give it away. And you know where I learned that one? AA. You know, when I used to go to all the meetings when I was early on, they always used to tell me, Steve, make yourself a small target. Keep your ego real small. Be real hard to hit you if you're a small target, right? They can't hit you if you're a small target. Well, I don't have anything in this for me right now. You know what I mean? I'm looking at it from a standpoint of, if you guys have ever seen pictures of Mr. Butters, my son, you know where my heart is. You see my other kids, you know where my heart is. So when I look at this stuff, I'm thinking about, I may never get to see the fruit of any of this labor. I'm hoping that I can give them a better world than our parents gave us. And right now it's kind of bleak, let's be fair. It's pretty bleak. You know, I see people fighting tooth and nail trying to teach economics to people. These same people are willing to destroy the entire system because they think that's what you got to do, because some bad leader told them to turn the world on its head. But that leader didn't understand the system. They didn't understand the rules at play. So rather than learn the system so they could fix the system to work for us, they would rather blow it up. And so I'm watching people that actually understand it. The light bulbs are going on. And yes, I feel some tremendous pride in their learning, not mine, their learning. Watching them break free and tell people about sovereign money. Watching them tell people about the fact that we can fund climate change. We can fix this thing. We don't have to die. We can get single-payer health care. We don't have to die. You know, think about the things we can do. I tell some people when I have my private chats with people, the ones that really are taking the economics seriously, we have these talks offline. And I talk to them about what we could do with block grants to the states, how you can make the Republicans happy in the sense that you're still allowing the 10th Amendment to work, and at the same time not bankrupting their citizens and the companies, quite frankly, like Detroit. What happens? They jack the taxes up because the businesses are leaving, and then who's stuck? The poor. The poor are left there, and so what happens to tax revenues? They go down the toilet. And then states like Texas drop the bottom out of the taxes, and then all the freaking corporations relocate to Texas. The race to the bottom is complete. But if we did block grants to the states, wouldn't have to worry about that. I tell you this, why? Because there are people stepping up to their calling. There are people actually taking the time to learn this stuff. And going back to Kim Lowe is Kim Lowe is actually giving freaking lessons to people in Southern Virginia about modern monetary theory. I mean, I wish I had like Tim's applause button. I would do that. The crowd goes wild. That's a leader. That's someone who took it upon themselves to take the time to learn something important so that they could help educate others so that we could change the world. That's a leader. A leader doesn't hoard the information. A leader doesn't point to self. A leader tries to make others better. A leader tries to educate others to lift them up. That's a leader. That's a leader. A leader doesn't do crazy things. Maybe they do sometimes. But a leader truly elevates those people around them. You know, we talk badly about sports, but the reality is within the sports paradigm, the most successful leaders in sports are the ones that place team ahead of self. And that's what we as a movement need to get to. We need to elevate the movement, elevate our ideas, elevate our principles to make it so that the politicians know not only are they not for sale, but they're not negotiable. This is what we're going to support. And if you don't represent this, we can't support you either. That's what it's going to take. And we're going to have to get lots of you to run for office as well. Lots and lots of you. In every level of government, we need people to fill those voids and to step in and to teach people and to tell them, hell no, you're not going to lie to us anymore. I'm eager to look forward to what's after this election. I'm sick of this election. Are you, tell me honestly, are you not sick to death of this flippin' election? I am. And we know we're screwed pretty much no matter what happens, unless we can suddenly crack open the Bernie Sanders contingent and get them to support Jill Stein, and then work a miracle at the Electoral College. But regardless, we've got a lot of work ahead of us. Neither one of those two establishment presidential candidates represent progressives in the least. And only one of them has the history of blood on her hands. So it's very important that we as a movement don't lose sight of the fact that the enemy most likely will take over the White House if we don't pull off a miracle. And the enemy is the Democrats and the Republicans. Neither one of them has our best interest at heart. Are you going to be a leader? Are you going to step up and be a humble servant leader for the movement? Are you going to put the movement ahead of yourself? Are you going to try not to box people in and try to cordon them off and rope them in this way and rope them in that way? It's important to lead by example. It's important to show people what it means to be steadfast. And it's important for them to see when you're in the temple and you see the money changers trying to screw people over, that you flip the tables and you make sure that everyone knows that you are one that stands on principle. With that, I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives, and I thank you for your time. Have a great night, everybody.